Want to know how this is possible from the last time I did an entry about the scandal that was going on in Queens with the subprime lending with Mr. Amhad. Well, that was only half the story. Many of you wrote in and called. In fact, a phone call came in while I was talking on my last show, and people wanted to find out more about, how I got my sources and how, what's going on. And how did this happen? How did this guy, an immigrant, become so, started out as an immigrant, and we're all immigrants, one way or another, right? I'm Dominican myself, even though I was born here. I come from Dominican immigrants, so we're all immigrants, but it took quite some time for my parents to create a life for themselves here, where I was able to, build from there and live, well, thank God. But, the first immigrants, and that's true of any immigrant, coming to any country, any wealthy country, in this case, the United States, it's going to take at least a generation or two to establish a foundation which you can then build on and then live the life that we call the American dream, which is now kind of a iconoclastic now, because it's hardly that anymore, and it's a shame because the United States has not been in power for long. We were founded in 1776 on September 17th. Of course, many say July 4th, but if you go by the actual writing of the Constitution, it was September 17th. But, having said that, we've had so many empires in the past that have lasted thousands of years, or at least a couple of hundreds of years. But the United States seems to have been a small hit wonder, where it flares out like a dramatic firecracker with a big bloom and pomp, and then fizzles out. Is that what we are? Is that what our founding fathers worked so hard for? That we not be a long-lasting influence, but just a quick spark? I mean, we really are in bad shape. I mean, we were in bad shape before. In 1929 with the stock market crash, and we almost starved to death. And hit by 2 world wars that affected us. But then again, that was a positive effect, not a negative effect, because we profited from the wars. But we should be at the height of our empire now. It's only been a little over 200 years. What, 1776, 1886, 1996? In 2020, 96 will be 300 years. We haven't even reached 300 years. And we are showing a downward trend so fast and so bad that we have outperformed the fall of the Roman Empire, the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the fall of the Persians. I mean, if you go back chronologically, China, the Manchu dynasty lasted longer than that. So we're really on a fast decline, really fast. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. I have some information more about Mr. Amhad and how he got into the power that he got so quickly, so fast, and then fizzle out and then come crashing down. A prelude of what's been happening, what's been coming, and what's still to come for 2012. Okay, let's keep it very clear. Let's cut the fat from the meat and just give the hardcore facts. And we can see that all around us, okay? But back to the story. Mr. Amhad worked as a police detective in Guyana. That's how it started, to give you a little history about that, okay? Mr. Guyana worked as a detective in Mr. Amhad worked as a detective in Guyana. Okay? And before joining a Guyanese immigration wave to New York City in the early 1980s. A private portion of his Facebook profile, accessible by more than 250 of his friends on the website, states that he earned degrees from Baruch College in Manhattan. However, the college has no record of him. Okay. Even today, after the arrest of Mr. Amhad and at least 12 Guyanese real estate workers, most of whom were accused of running similar but smaller scale schemes, there are more than 30 real estate businesses on the main thoroughfare Liberty Avenue. Okay. This is Queens. Why I'm not surprised. But Mr. Amhad created a public brand, plastering his photo in advertisements in ethnic newspapers and buying television infomercials. Residents flocked to him. It's personal, said Paul Sanders, a Guyanese journalist who covers the community. Quote unquote, Ed was one of us. When Mr. Amhad opened a new office, the police blocked traffic as about 300 people, including Representative Meeks and Senator Sampson, attended a ceremony and listened to a calypso singer offer a tribute, quote unquote, Ed Amhad, that dynamite businessman, Ed Amhad, a sexy, handsome man, quote unquote. Okay, as he accumulated wealth, one former friend said he was worth at least $20 million in liquid assets. He poured money into charitable and other causes, including the mosque where he prays. He also raised money for politicians like Mr. Meeks and Mr. Sampson. Okay, Ed, quote unquote, Ed used to go around saying he's boyfriended politicians. Okay, excuse me. I don't know why that came out. I said boyfriended. But well, you can say that. He befriended is what I meant to say, politicians. And if he's ever caught, they'll help him get off. No pun intended. And I swear. Okay. Said Chuck Mohan, who is the president of a Guyanese civic group in Queens and a friend of Mr. Sampson's. Okay, Mr. Meeks has said the $40,000 that he received from Mr. Amhad was a loan, which he paid back, he said, 3 years after he received it. After the FBI began questioning Mr. Amhad, Mr. Meeks' office did not respond to a phone message. At one point, Mr. Sampson used a staff member to aid in his legal representation of Mr. Amhad, potentially violating ethics laws according to state records. As for comment, Mr. Sampson's office will say only that he and Mr. Amhad remain friends. Okay, I hope so, because a lot went out to bat for this sexy, handsome guy. In Queens, many people who once jockeyed for Mr. Amhad's attention, like radio and television talk show hosts, are keeping their distance. But his defenders question why the government was prosecuting immigrant brokers even if it had bailed out the banks. That's very interesting. No, that's very interesting. I mean, look, you can't be mad at the question. That's a legitimate question. If the government bailed out the banks, and the banks are still doing atrocious injustices with our money, then why go after these brokers? Is that another wag the dog? Not that what the brokers are doing was any better, because corruption at a high scale or a low scale is still bad. We all pay the price. Okay? So that's kind of like a cop-out, but it was a good question. Hey, quote unquote, we are innocent victims of the economic frenzy and implosion that America, no doubt that Africa too is in the same boat, is going through, quote unquote, said Kawal Totaram, I believe. Okay, a real estate lawyer and friend of Mr. Amhad. Okay, some housing advocates disagreed that Mr. Amhad was in trouble because of forces outside of his control. Mamta Gurung, a manager at Shayang, a Queens-based housing organization that caters to South Asians, said half of her foreclosure clients were Guyanese, including some who had loans from Mr. Amhad. Okay. She said most of her clients could not identify their mortgage documents. Some could not spell their names. It's quite scary. I mean, Mr. Saha and Mr. Hussein, who took the 12.5% loan arrangement by Mr. Amhad, said their lives remained in turmoil. They have been unable to start a new business because of a lack of capital, Mr. Hussein said. And Mr. Hussein's 3 children are supporting him financially. That, Mr. Hussein said, is not how life should turn out. Quote unquote, when you purchase a property, you think this is it, he said. Okay, quote unquote. Instead, he said he felt overwhelmed by depression and anger issues and hopelessness. I mean, and that's so sad. That's so sad, you know. But that answers very little about maybe how Mr. Amhad got to where he did. But obviously, he was a professional person in his country, and that springboarded then. Because he was with law enforcement in Guyana, he probably had connections, he probably knew certain protocols, and it didn't take long, and it wasn't hard to come in this country where we have free access for him to just fill in the rest. And that's how American greed is born. Pretty much like a supernovae out in the heavens, you know. Without the supernovae, we won't be here because we are essentially stardust. Peace.